Well, if you have a badge that's actually more just a law enforcement badge, then being commissioned officer, we call those. If we have some type of commissioning, that would also be, I think, a stronger advocacy for us. Because when you go to court and you go to a judge, if you have a law enforcement position, it does seem to bring a lot more weight to it. Mm-hmm. So we are moving in that direction, Councilwoman. We've had success in the past getting people fined, put in jail. We just need to continue to build upon that and get the district attorney on board to a certain degree.
Okay. I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Maybe you can give me some more insight.
Well, yes, ma'am. What I was going to suggest is because we have some instances where it's just a $50 fine, I would hate to create a scenario where someone is reporting someone and all they're getting is a $50 fine and there's some kind of collusion happening and, we can make a little profit off of, you being... Process. Right. So it's a way to say this is a verifiable situation and you were charged for some really serious fines. And so we want to share in the reward of that kind of capture versus something like that could be, that could be taken advantage of. And I think maybe one suggestion that I would have for this particular piece of the resolution, because I know that it was, there were some comments that we got about taking money from unassigned fund balance. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can word this in a way where it just allows for the creation of a illegal dumping and reporting reward program, and then we can, work to bring that final model to this body here by the deadline, and that way they leave some wiggle room for us to have more discussion about it.
I definitely think we need to talk this out.
Right. Yeah, let me read examples of the ineligibility for these programs, which I think are great, which we're talking about. So ineligible people would be those persons, including members of their families who are determined to be responsible in any way, committed, participated, encouraged, allowed, or facilitated in illegal dumping. Corporations or other persons other than natural persons. Law enforcement would not be eligible. Any city employees would not be eligible. The public agency responsible for maintenance and monitoring of public property would not be. That's typically another avenue of state government. Security guards, because they're typically responsible for reporting or maintaining in illegal activity, obviously. And private personnel responsible for enforcement of regulations, monitoring. So they do have some really good clarification of how you would not be eligible to get the funding. So that is aimed towards citizenry who actually would be swearing an affidavit. By swearing an affidavit, you're saying you're not going to be obviously committing any crime yourself, and you're not colluding. So,
absolutely. Please state the city that you're reading that from.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Milwaukee has this. Chicago has this.
Milwaukee, Chicago. That's okay. I'm gonna call it.
Yeah, in Sacramento.
It's hard to get people to report anything on somebody when you sign your name and thinking they're gonna openly be the target after this has been reported. So I want to talk to those cities just to see how they, get around that. That situation has to be something that's hidden or, unidentified. It has to be something way because people are just not going to give it up. My other question is this, because I think we got to go through the hurdles to make this work. We don't need anything. Will there be a separate funding or group dealing with 311? All the time now, people are calling 311 and they're reporting that it's taken forever for 311 to address those issues. So you're going to add to it. So how are we going to separate it to make sure people understand this is separate? So that's why I hate to call 311, for that reason. Yes.
Yes, I'll make a quick comment there. So this particular item is for something that's happening in real time. So let's say I'm a citizen and I'm sitting at a corner and I see somebody dumping right now. So this is us looking at a way to get involved in the middle of the dumping activity. And so part of it is 311 with what they do, but another part of it, Director Connect can speak more about, but it is this pairing with possibly 545 cops or something along those lines, but that is going to take some more exploration. And I'm sorry if I jumped ahead of you, Director. Go ahead.
No, she's exactly right. You know, we're talking to 545 utilizing 545 cops. Your 911, obviously, we're trying to avoid inundating it with additional call loads when there's some other higher priorities. But if there's an active dumping going on, someone seeing it, we'd love to get law enforcement to go out there and maybe hopefully catch the person's in act. But we're getting ready to have a conversation with the 911 call center, who also fields the 545 cops, and talking to them about what can we do. They did something similar with Memphis Animal Shelter. So that kind of practice is there. What would be a good opportunity for us? And, you know, we also look towards the future of, okay, how can we expand 311? I think there's opportunities for that as well. That's been a conversation that's been going on, we've been having over the years. How do we leverage what we do now, and how do we expand to that to help promote, you know, more citizen engagement, more response time?
And basically, this is a foundational type of ask, and they're going to get together and explore it. As Chief Ryan said, they would be coming back at this time with a holistic plan and, you know, having time to look at it. But we definitely know we have to do something, and this is along the lines of what we're wanting them to explore. I appreciate Director Connect for, you know, looking into peer cities and seeing what best practices are, and they can use that as information. And then exploring the opportunities, because we have a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but this will give them time to put the puzzle pieces together and add what needs to be. Because, you know, like you said, he can look at 545 cops. And then, you know, we also have reserve officers. There are a lot of things that we can look at. And so I really like the base and, you know, what we have to work with. And they can come back with a more substantial model, as Chief Ryan suggested.
And I've talked to Chief Davis, you know, and Chief Crow, and so Chief Jones, and they have both Chief Davis and Jones have a perspective from the land of what they did there. I think it adds value to some of this. Yeah. So I have very optimistically, you know, obviously working close with MPD and how we can do things that work together. You know, I want to augment them, not take away, you know, try to conflict with their goals. But I think that we're all trying to kind of come together with solutions. And every city does have an anonymous program, but they don't reward anonymous, you know, because you have to be able to pay somebody. So I know that other ways that the Crime Stoppers does, you know, so we're not discounting that. And I'm looking to talk to Mr. Chapman maybe and see what they do and what their idea is. But I think looking at most of these cities' programs, that 311 being a main source of opportunity is something we already have.
Okay. Can I answer your question? You had some.
I just had one other comment for right now, I guess. Is it possible, you know, again, these are like projections. We need to hit the ground and show something, in my opinion. If by February the 1st, on your 311 calls, can we make it a priority for at least maybe 2 weeks to get the manpower that it takes for every 311 call? We clean up everybody. I mean, they just jump on all of these little calls, at least, and let's publicize that for the next 2 weeks. Can we deal with it?
I'm not sure. Can you kind of break it down a little bit?
February 1st, we set our deadline for completion, part 1 is February 1st.
Right, the target date for part 1 is February 1st.
And we're going to, I guess, release our website, social media, et cetera, or whatever it is like that, okay? Mm-hmm. So in order to make a big impact, could we just make sure every call that comes in about 311, we make it a priority to get it done?
If it's illegal dumping, I think we're talking about.
Whatever it is. We can't sit there and argue with people in regards to who owns the lot, not going, getting the litter. We need to come up with something so when it happens, we're actually going to make a big impact, and the city could say, yeah, they came right out and took care of it.
We have a presentation by Ms. Malone for 311, and we're going, after she presents her presentation and we ask questions, and we can come back, we'll circle back to that request. This will give us a little bit of time to dive a little deeper into it. I definitely hear what you're saying in terms of, because that's going to take
Can I make
city
a
council
comment?
input as well, so.
Well, at the next council, task force, I'm sorry, I think Ms. Neal and I could talk about the update on our legal dumping group. We've been hiring, we're trying to get equipment in. We've come up with some ideas, and hopefully, I think that would be a good timely update to the group on where we are with that, because we had the ISL, we have the staffing, we're trying to finalize and get that group up and going. And the goal being, to the councilman's point, that we are trying to be more reactive to cleaning up. Getting on private property still has its own challenges, as our attorney down here would tell you, because we have the process by where we have to give the owner time to respond. But we do want to be willing to be faster to clean up. So that's where we are leaning towards. But we still have to obey the state law about, going on the private property.
Is the sidewalk private property?
Technically, yes, it is. It is the property owner's responsibility to address the sidewalk.
Okay.
Another thing, I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
go ahead.
Another thing that they do as a part of their investigation is try to identify who actually dumped the items. Did I take the words out of your mouth, Melanie? They try to identify who dumped the items, so that's also a reason that there's a little bit of time that happens between the collection.
But I do hear what you said in terms of 311. That's why we asked Ms. Malone to come, because I think we want to make sure that we're understanding how 311 operates and what the correlation is, or what the relationship is between 311 and the actual departments. So where, we can have some improvement or show some improvement in. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilwoman. And we will definitely circle back to that before we leave today. But as we close out this portion of it, we were discussing the feasibility of April 1st being the target date for phase 2. So I think I heard Chief Ryan and Director Connect saying that April 1st target date is attainable for the second bullet point, the first and second bullet point, and we already have the third in place, basically. It's just a matter of connecting it and expanding it with Memphis Shelby County Schools. Okay. What's the opening date for Collins Yard?
January 13th.
January
13th.
13th, okay, great. All right. And
all my
so I
surprises.
think that's it. So, great, we're looking at February and April. What'd you say?
I think it would be before February 1st.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would definitely be before February 1st, yes.
Okay.
But January 13th is our slated date, yes. We haven't publicized it yet, but that is the date that we've worked out.
Okay.
It will be
Sounds
ready
good.
January 13th.
Anything else on the short-term recommendation that we will be
Yes.
putting forth on the 20th?
So phase two, bullet 2, I just want to suggest a change based on what I said earlier, removing the $50,000, basically just saying something like Public Works Department, create an illegal dumping reporting reward program for review with this committee, or something along those lines where,
Based on the best practices of these other entities.
right.
We can add that to it, and you all can come with how much is needed for whatever you all come up with. Because the council already did approve the 50, but if you feel like it needs to be more or less, you can come back with that ask, and we can go back to council if need be for more or less. But I hear you saying you need more time to kind of massage this and kind of decide what you want to do, right?
It was a committee vote, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, well, we have,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
final,
nothing's
so we
been
still
approved
have time.
financially, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so,
And there was discussion about taking 50,000 from unassigned
right.
fund balance.
Mhm.
And if we're able to work this out where everyone's comfortable in recovering, rewarding the reporter by the funds that we collect, then we wouldn't need an allocation in that instance. So just allowing flexibility to not have a funding item positioned in the resolution is my ask.
because I don't see a problem with taking it out of the funding. I'm sorry, out of the funding, if we can do that. So you all will come back on the next meeting with that information. Okay, great. Sounds good. All right, so now we're gonna move to item number 4, which is, let's take a look at the research projects for the next meeting. Well, January 19th meeting, right?
Yeah, it's the next
Okay. I'm going to be looking into solid waste, or talking with them, solid waste, about, hold on, let me make sure. Does everybody have a copy of the long-term recommendation research projects for January 19th?
Yeah, there.
We wanted to bring these forward because we have had some, great discussions and great information. Great information, and coming together, bringing the minds together and putting things on the table and really looking at it from a holistic point of view, making certain that we're informed and making sure that everyone has had an opportunity to share from their perspective and just get a better understanding of what we're tackling. So now we want to move quickly to, because we're approaching the end of our 6 months, and we want to focus on delivering specific recommendations. So we'll be assigning committee members, kind of like we did the last time, but we'll assign committee members to one or more of the outstanding long-term recommendations. These recommendations have been introduced or considered, but we haven't really dived deep into them, and we want to make certain that we do that. Each task force member will select an initiative, and for the January 19th meeting, you're asked to give a brief presentation on it. The presentation should give the background on the issue or initiative, provide examples from other municipalities, describe the possible pros and cons, and provide insight on the possible challenges or conflicts in implementing these ideas. A few are ones I will ask the COO's Office, Public Works and Solid Waste to lead. The others are available to task force members to volunteer to take on. We also want to incorporate your suggestions for other opportunities. And with that being said, we'll open the floor for discussions. If you look on the long-term ones, solid waste fee, commission to consolidate environmental and commercial code enforcement. That's one kind of want to explore as well. Create pay-as-you-go, pay-as-you-throw, fee structure and service for constituents. We're asking Chief Ryan to report on that. Review of convenience center startup and operational costs to increase the number throughout the city. Director Connect, if you would handle that. Review of solid waste curbside policies. Director Davis. Report on growth of garbage tonnage year over year. Director Davis. All right. Used tire ordinance review. That's open. Send informational pamphlet on fighting blight and illegal dumping to all MLGW ratepayers. I'm going to ask Mr. White if you would chime in on that one. You had some great ideas earlier, so you can include those. So basically, you can include what you were talking about, or put that forward. Your thoughts about that. Okay, and we can get together, or you can get with Ms. Liza to, if you need more insight on this one right here. All right, startup and operational cost of additional waste receptacles throughout the city is available. Creating youth positions for public service corps and funding an environmental court indigent fund. And then if you have any other ideas, is there anyone that wants to take any of these on? The used tire ordinance review and best practices or thoughts about the used tires?
Yes, I would take on the used tire ordinance review.
All righty, wonderful. Miss Erica?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, seeing informational, we already got that one from Mr. White. And it's more so getting the information out, marketing, education, that type of thing. Startup and operational cost of additional waste receptacles throughout the city. And even if that's a good idea, just explore that. Okay. Ms.
I have,
Eldra?
We've done some research on that, yeah, so.
Well, I have an adopt a trash can program that's very successful. In fact, I have a waiting list of several neighborhood groups waiting to adopt cans. In fact, I have 18 groups, about 50 cans. And currently, we have 75 that are currently being adopted by various neighborhood groups throughout the city, and it's going well.
So if you could kind of give a report on that, I saw some this weekend I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
But just to make sure that we are, once we give them to them, we, include, if you go back and see how that's working,
Right.
how successful they've been, and, so if you could kind of bring that forward and how successful it is, and if we had more, what that would look like and how that would improve the, state of affairs, so.
Yeah, we've had
Great.
several groups requesting them right now, so.
Okay, so you can come back and share that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and creating youth positions for public service corps. And getting youth involved in this, the entire conversation altogether. Okay, okay, all right, Councilwoman, appreciate it. All right, appreciate you, Councilwoman. All right, funding and environmental court indigent fund. And that, everybody knows, the thought behind that is just to make certain, because Judge Dandridge is really particular about people that continue on and on for 50 years if they don't have a way to pay. So this might be, one of the council members brought this up too. I saw your hand, Will.
I can look into it.
Okay, great.
Carlissa is part of the, works for the court.
Who?
Carlissa?
Oh, okay, is she?
No, she's.
Carlissa is a part of this body, and she works for environmental court, so maybe she can work with you. Okay. Any other ideas or anything that we need to address or add to this list that is vital to blight and illegal dumping? Anybody has any ideas or things that they think we should have had in the discussion? And even,
She's online.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
what, would you tell us, give us your name and your,
My name is Tommy Grayson. I heard the broadcast this morning over the radio while I was at work.
okay,
That y'all was having a meeting down, about illegal dumping and tires and different stuff. And they said it was open to the public. I said, well, let me go around there and see if I can try to get in somewhere on a contract to kind of help pick this up. December the 31st is gonna be my last work day with the city. February the 10th gonna be my last official employment day with the city of Memphis on my time. That's for 48+ years. So, I got to
And we're sorry to lose you.
well, we're so glad to have you down here with us. I wanted to make sure everybody knew who you were, and I actually thought you were one of the community members that's on the task force, but thank you for being here, and thank you for your years of service as well.
I'm somebody that wants to help make some of this stuff disappear.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again. Okay, and we also have Mr. Dons online. Mr. Dons, did you have anything to add?
Not currently, Councilwoman Logan. I appreciate my involvement in this, being able to be involved, and really appreciate the fact that we're seeing some traction going behind a lot of these ideas and things being pushed forward to really help clean the city up. So I, want to continue to serve and be a part of this any way that I can. So I definitely thank you for what you all are doing.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We'll have to get you on one of these committees. All right.
It's my pleasure to serve.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so now that we have that, and you all just, again, make sure that you all are ready on the 19th with those presentations.
He's going to talk about adoption ideas.
At this time, we're going to ask Ms. Malone if you would come on down and share with us today.
Well, I was just talking to Ms. White, and I think that, she has several like adoption programs. Maybe that would be good to discuss amongst the group, because we are always looking to we're all about education and civic engagement. So I think that would be a good opportunity to discuss, because we want our communities to be part of what we're trying to solve, and their voice is the most important voice, and getting them to also participate. So I'd love to
So you want to
talk.
present that on the 19th as well? Your adoption? Okay,
Yes.
that'd be great.
And the director also presented that in his first presentation to the task force, the adopter programs that work.
I remember that. Okay, great. And we would, I think it'd be good to connect that with the partnerships, the area partnerships, because that's what the neighborhood association and homeowner associations are there as well. So great. Okay. All right, thank you. At this time, we would like to, let's see. You can go ahead and just give us your name and position and just have the floor. You can come with your presentation. We appreciate you being here today.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple of questions that, you push the little green button, it's on.
It's
You're on, you're
okay.
ready.
Thank you. My name is Carolyn Malone. I'm the manager for the 311 call center for the city of Memphis. And what I want to talk about today is of how we are receiving reports pertaining to illegal dumping, trash, debris, and anything to me is trash that's not supposed to be out on the street. So first of all, I wanted to let you know that you can report illegal dumping to 311 by either phone, or you can dial by 311, or you can dial the 636-6500 number, or you can go to the mobile app or the website and create a ticket through the Cyclic Fix, or you can walk into 125 North Main, room 438. Okay. 301 improvement for illegal dumping requests. I'm going to kind of combine a couple of these together. So the first one is proactive approach with callers. We make sure that we are asking the callers the correct questions when citizens are reporting illegal dumping. And then we are in the process of doing a 301 improvement process with departments. We have been meeting with Public Works and Solid Waste on what will help us to get the right information to give for a citizen to give us to make sure their job is, they're working very well to get their job taken care of. Also, and I use this quite frequently now, I'd be one of the citizens that does this. I see a lot of citizens throwing things out the car and things like that. I do use the 5-2 clean, so we're trying to educate our citizens that if you see something, at least give someone a call or just report it by getting a tag. And I think Ms. White touched on this, a vehicle description, time and date of violation. So call the 5-2 clean, because you don't have to give your name. And it's safe, as long as you're safely doing it at nighttime, especially when I do it all the time. So I would say that people need to understand that this is to help your city, because it's really terrible out here, the way they're dumping things out their cars. Also, the agents right now, we're looking to see if there's an active or non-active utility, and Director Connect can touch on this. If it's in front of your home, a lot of citizens call and say they want to report there's illegal dumping in front of their homes. But if it's if you're a personal home that you have active utilities, Director Davis Group Solid Waste will pick it up in front of your home, even though someone else put it there. But we don't actually go out. Maybe somebody can touch on that. But I know that we do go in bags and see if people dump things and have their phone number. So we're trying to work those processes out with the departments to make sure that the citizens understand that when you're reporting these things, make sure you understand why you're reporting dumping. If it's in front of your home, it's really not dumping. It really is, but it's not in a sense, because you do have active utilities and solid waste. We'll pick that up. Also, The agents wants to know, and we're working toward this along with the 311 improvement process. All the agents are trying to make sure that we understand what the workflow is with the departments and what the next steps are. That helps us to give the citizens the information when they call back to find out what's going on with their report when they're reporting illegal dumping. Another thing that I suggested, but I think we already got the 901 campaign going on, of doing some kind of campaigning. I would say show roadside litter, show dumping, and then show solid waste. I would think something like that would help a citizen understand, because most citizens just think everything is dumping. It's really not typical dumping. A bottle or a paper bag and things like that, it's not just dumping. It's like litter mostly, and that goes to Public Works, another side of Public Works. Okay? And I just want to go through the process flow for citizens when they call in a request. A caller calls the 311 call center, is entered into the system. Call agent enter a service request details. Call information is entered to a tracking system, which is either Oracle. Most of ours are Oracle, but I know we have a GIS and Oracle system, but it all combines, it all goes together. A service request is created and routed to the proper department. Department staff receives all service requests and reviews them in the order they're received. Then once they do that, the work crews responds as needed. Departments monitor service request progress, and additional resolution activities can be assigned, and then the requests are closed out by the department when the resolution is completed. So they're calling in to us, and I know that, everything says 311, but we're the call center, and it goes out to the departments. So we have to, remind citizens, we're not out there in the streets working. The departments are out there working. So when they say 311, we just want to make them understand that we're not out there doing the work. I did a data for illegal dumping, and the total number was 3,782. Now, this is only the average calls that came in and what's online, not what Public Works do proactively. So these numbers do not go with their numbers, okay? These are just what is showing up on 311's queue for us when they call in the online requests. So you can see we had 2,500 or so online requests and only 1,249 that was actually called into 311. So I have to say kudos to Public Works because they do proactively go out. I've had it where they went out and cleaned, and the citizen called back and she said, well, it's looked the same. I was like, well, they did their job, but it's what citizens do. They go back out and put the debris back out there. Okay? You got any questions, Ms. Chairwoman Johnson? I'm looking at her because she's like she got something to say. No, ma'am, we try. Yes, ma'am, we are, but sometimes you take it at heart. We take it to heart, too. Yes, ma'am.
Will you turn on your mic?
Sorry,
Thank you.
but you're on the front line, and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
appreciate it because you're the one that really hears.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we need to do everything we can to make sure those requests or complaints are resolved as quickly as possible.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
Thank you. But,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I know it takes manpower and money. That's what we need.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Malone, were you done, Councilwoman?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Can 311 categories be further expanded? The categories that you call into them, do you feel that they can be further expanded?
In categories for?
And when you call in, or we're not calling in, but if I go on the app, there are categories that I can put a complaint in. Are those able to be expanded any?
They are, but can I make a suggestion? Just because I've been here a long time, and we originally started out having 140 some service request type online.
Oh, no, that's too.
Yes, ma'am. And so we tried to. Actually, we got more than we should have now, as far as I'm concerned. The main thing is that citizens don't like to read. They don't like to, read 140 something. I rather read 10, and then we have the one that says other. That comes directly to my department, and once we get it, we send it to the appropriate department. So it can expand, I can tell you that much, but it's probably not the best idea to expand. It just seems to get a little out of whack. One thing about it, when they call 311, or if we go in and do the one that calls other, the service request type is other, then we can read it. We in the office and we can read it and send it to the appropriate department. Sometimes that's better to do it that way with us because that helps out the departments also because we didn't we done kind of filtered through some of the things that some citizens put in, that it's not anything that they can, especially Public Works, because I always pick on Public Works because they get so many, and everything is geocoded, right, Robert? And so when we see some that are like that's not correct, then we can go ahead and vet that right quick and either email the citizen, have them call us, instead of, sending it on to Public Works.
So when I put it in other, but then when I look on the tracker, 311 tracker, it'll just say, or if I pull the report, it'll just say 311, or it'll say miscellaneous. Like it doesn't give an actual, if I type it in under other, it doesn't give an actual description. It says miscellaneous. And then when
if you put it in under other and we created to say solid waste, you should still be able to see it on 301 Act Track under solid waste, because it's going by what the service request type is.
Even if you put it under other?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because we have to change it to
There's
the
no
other.
such service request as other.
Other, yeah,
It has to be assigned to somebody.
Yeah, it have to be assigned to someone, yes.
So who changes it in the system, in the?
311, myself.
So you all will
Yes,
go
ma'am.
back and, at what point, or when is it changed? I'm
It's
just
changed
asking.
daily.
Oh, okay.
We don't
Okay.
leave anything hanging out there. So daily it's changed. So once we come in, like on a Monday morning, we get the whole weekend worth of service requests. And once we come in, we clean them up daily. Well, almost every 3 hours of the day, because I have one particular agent that's working on that day, all day.
Okay.
So we try not to leave any on there unless there's some problems on something. And we waiting on a citizen to call us back and give us some more information.
All right. I had another question. How are divisions instructed to respond, and how can we improve their responses? Anyone?
I'm gonna let the division tell you that.
Well, I mean, so every service request type has a service level agreement. We call that the SLA. And that is our goal for the divisions to respond to a specific service request type. So it is going to vary. Some are shorter than others due to the complexity of getting the issue resolved. Like a pothole, we say it's 5 days. We typically get it done in 2 to 3 days. So that's because we know what our capacity is and how quickly, based on our staffing, we can expect to get it resolved. So all those SLAs are defined in our system, and we revise and look at them every so often too to make sure we're meeting our goals. Sarah, right there, we report out on this as part of our education and our communication and transparency. So I think that's the question that we should look at. If it's based on legal dumping, it's going to be more specific to how it was done private or public, but it's just going to vary depending on the type of complaint.
Okay. And that information is public?
That was my question. Do you make it public?
Yes, I would refer to Sarah right there to talk about how we report on our Open 311 portal.
Yeah, Sarah Harris. I'm the director of the Office of Performance Management. So we have the Memphis Data Hub, which has the Open 311 map, and that's going to show all of the active service requests, ones that are in progress, pending litigation, and the closed one. There's also an entire data catalog that includes every individual service request that's been submitted, whether it's active or closed, back to 2016. And that'll have the date opened, the request type, the date closed, the address, and a bunch of other different, where if it came from 311, GIS, or ClickFix.
I guess my question too was once a person files a request
Can you talk into the mic? Chairwoman, thank you.
once a person actually files a report needing a pothole filled, do you tell them then up to 5 days? Do you tell them at that point so they don't be calling back?
No, that's our internal goal. We don't really tell the citizenry that we have 5 days. This basically is the goals that we have established for ourselves to complete the task.
But I would just say, any of your tasks, do you give a citizen an estimated time when that issue will be addressed?
We do, especially on the solid waste.
Okay.
We do on those, especially the garbage carts and recycle carts, and when they're getting them fixed or they're getting one delivered. We do give them an estimated time frame of when they should get them.
Okay.
One more thing I'll add too, on the Data Hub, there's a performance dashboard that has maybe 20 or 25 goal tiles, and some of those pertain to the SLAs
Yes.
that Director discussed.
Okay. So I know I I deal with a lot of constituents regarding 311. And when you go in, like you go in and you can pull a report, a complaint number and the complaint. And then I'll go to a PJA meeting and the inspector will say that was already completed a month ago. But then I can go right home after that meeting and it'll still be open. So what happens, how does that happen?
And that may be because we have the two systems may be that's what our 301 improvement is about right now. We have most of the work orders out in the field, they actually going through GIS, and we are doing 311, so they have talking to each other. So we're trying to make sure those two systems talk to each other. So sometimes you might get that, and Director Connect probably can attest to that.
Yeah, so she's mentioning we're looking to enhance how 311 interacts with the operations in the field. The field doesn't use Oracle to manage a service request. We utilize GIS, which is just a tool that we developed to make our inspectors or anybody in Public Works more efficient. So, but right now those two systems have to talk back and forth to each other, and sometimes there's a breakdown in that communication, so it doesn't always update it into the system. So what we do in Public Works is I have staff who are going in and looking at those old service requests and looking at and what's happening in GIS and saying, okay, something didn't happen. That service request is actually closed. It should have been closed, and closing it out. But Chief Ryan, myself, and other division directors, and we're looking at a way to make sure that system is looking at the entire system, the entire process, to where hopefully identify a more complete solution, for lack of a better word, versus the way it is now.
Yeah, the GIS or GPS or whatever you're saying, it's not working with the Oracle. And so I think it's causing a lot of angst for the citizens. Now, we want 311 to be our flagship and our main thing and our go-to, and everybody know 311, and that's where you go. So we got to get this one correct. And I do know for certain, because I've been in the field with I walked up on what do you call them, inspector, and just started talking, how you doing? Thank you so much for being out here. And then they put in, and then the iPad thing wouldn't come on, or it'll show me, then it'll go out. And then I'm saying, so when you put this in, is it going straight to, 311? Is it closing it out or whatever? And sometimes, sometimes it's not working like that. So I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's something that seems like it's technology. So it seems like we should be able to do technology simple. How long, is that something we're actively working on? What's the target for that? And where are we on that? Chief, I know you.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So we definitely are actively working on that. And some of it is training that we're consistently doing. Like, for example, if there's a duplicate ticket, like 5 people send in a ticket,
right.
Then there's a way that the staff must close it out so that it's attached to the original complaint or request, so that it starts tracking with it. And if we don't attach it properly, then it can cause some confusion. So some of it is training, and we're doing that work too. Second is definitely the language between Oracle and GIS, and IT has been working on it. They have put some patches in place. We're finding that we may need a different solution, and we actually have some conversations coming up about how we migrate to. There's a CRM within Oracle that we're looking at exploring.
GIS.
Yes, in GIS. I'm sorry, I said the wrong one.
Yeah,
in GIS, so that we can possibly migrate there. Hopefully, I will know in January is when we've scheduled that meeting for. Hopefully, I'll know then whether that's a viable solution for us. And if it's not a viable solution, then we will be looking at, well, then what is a better solution for this situation? So it's definitely on our radar. We think we have a fix. we're gonna look more deeply at that fix in January.
Okay, and so.
IT was very confident that this is something worth exploring too. It wasn't just a hope. It wasn't a hope. This is something they felt like was already available. It would be not even a it would be minimal cost to us as well, not having to go out to the market and find something that would be a more costly endeavor for the city. So we're excited that there might be a chance to do something faster and at a more cost effective.
Have we looked at what other cities that use this, what they do? Have we had a chance to?
Yeah, most cities are GIS based now.
Yes,
Okay.
GIS is very popular.
Okay. All right, well, we're looking forward to January when you all can say, yes, we're gonna be able to do this patch. And then they're gonna be in the field, they're gonna have some new iPads in the field and be able to click it in, and it'll come straight off of 311 and it'll update it.
Well, and you mentioned another thing, we'll talk quickly about that. We buy new technology all the time, but a lot of we do work with our partners. It's, everybody's talking about 5G and things like that. That will help us as well because we do, have limitations in the field. So we're hoping that as this technology is really coming more robust, that our inspectors and the tools they have work more effectively too, with better connectivity to our system.
Okay.
And let me
sounds
say,
good.
the cell service is the cell service. Certain parts of the neighborhood the city can be a bit spotty, but when they make it back to their location, it should dump
It will.
at that point. So just because it didn't close there, they have marked it closed. Once it gets to data, where data is available, services available, I should say, then it will dump at that point. So it just may be a little bit of a delay, but it shouldn't be past it. Should be within that same workday.
So if we, and I appreciate you saying that as well. So we'll,
Thank you. That's
we'll
clear.
be looking for those upgrades, and because this is one thing everybody knows right now is 311. So we got to make 311 work. And I think it might be, and this is just a suggestion, something to consider is referring to 311 as the call center, 311 call center instead of 311, because if you, say 311 call center, that's what it is. And so people won't be expecting it to be a service center or people working. You just know this is the call center where you call in,
Right.
and then it separates them from, because if you call 311 and you all are not the ones in the field, there is a disconnect somewhat from the actual citizen. It's kind of frustrating because you're saying, I'm just the call, I'm just taking the call, but the citizen is thinking that you're a part of that process of getting it done. So just wanted to put that there. I don't know, we may consider that. Director, did
I was
you have
just going to
something?
say, and Councilwoman, there is some limitation. People talk about 311, but we also have the C-Click Fix app, and there is some limitation about how much data can be seen by the customer when they enter that service request through C-Click Fix. It travels, then enters into the Oracle system. I think it's bridged through GIS, and it comes back. But all the information, because of the nature of that interface, all the information that is entered by the customer doesn't necessarily travel all the way to Oracle and make its way to GIS to the field inspector in the field. So there's if you read those comments on C-Click Fix, there's some frustration out
Right.
there. The blame is going to 311 because
Yes.
that's who they're trying to communicate with. But the field inspector that's trying to complete the task just doesn't see all that information that's been put in. He sees the task, he sees the complaint, but if the incorrect complaint type has been entered, the photos may not push all the way through. So when they see Miss Garbage and you put in there are 3 tires in front of my house, the collector is going to look for a garbage cart and never saw what was typed in as in the summary as there are 3 tires out here. So that can contribute to some of the frustration as well.
So C-Click Fix, the number that you gave with C-Click Fix is a different number from the.
C-Click Fix is a mobile app. It's
Right,
a web app, yeah.
But they give a number too, and then at the bottom, they give you the 311 number, but at the top initially.
Correct. There's an incident number that's assigned
Right.
by C-Click Fix that is not the same as the service request number that's assigned by Oracle by 311.
So hopefully this year, that we can get all of this worked out in terms of having it, a smooth, either we're gonna do See Click Fix. I mean, I know See Click Fix is the app, but it needs to, like you were saying, it needs to work better with be a smoother transition.
Well, See Click Fix was we made that work. It was basically a free tool. And so, oh my gosh, 9 years ago, the city was able to leverage this opportunity by See Click Fix as a company. They're the company who develops the tools. And obviously, we didn't have funding, so we said, yeah, this is great. We're going to take this and make it work. And again, we cobbled it together with all of our other pieces that we try to utilize. And it's obviously, the whole point of what we're talking about now is we need to make a decision and put together something that, to your point,
without cobbling.
For our city. Yeah, it works for our citizens. It works for us, works for our citizens, and it does a better job of engaging them and communicating with them.
Oh, great. I think we've touched on all of the touch points that we need to concerning 311. Thank you so much for what you do and I know it's like Councilwoman said, it's a hard job and you're on the front line. We appreciate it. And just let the your team know that we do. And sometimes the frustration you hear is definitely not with you all. We appreciate you, but it's with this cobbling that we're doing. So we're going to fix that. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And colleagues, if you all have any additional information or questions that you think of, just forward them to us and we can get them to her. The last thing I forgot to mention about the auto responses. Are there ever auto responses instead of, I think there's a request for direct conversation or direct contact with 311 instead of, like you can do with MLGW, instead of auto responses. Is that a possibility? Chief?
So one of the things we're looking at with the GIS CRM is some of that functionality that may be available. I don't know if it's in the same way that you're mentioning. Automation is a lifesaver for Carolyn Malone. Because the vast amount of requests that they get, we use automation to respond to those routine matters that can take a lot of that workload off of their plate. But there are some new interesting things out here now with CRMs that can allow some interaction using chatbots that doesn't necessarily take capacity away from the 311 call taker. So we're looking at that as a part of the conversation that we're having with our IT department as well.
Well, that'll be a good first step. So I appreciate that too. All right. Next, we'll have a presentation on the city's camera program with Mr. Witter and Mr. Gibbons, and then following them, our final presentation will be on communication from Ms. Neal. We got them up, John. Y'all ready? Okay.
I have no idea. You're not supposed to have this one. That's why you got it.
Okay.
How did you get?
I don't know.
I'm totally game.
Somebody before you, put it on there, I guess.
This should be good.
Thank you. Smile, you're on camera. The camera. Oh, I won't.
My name is Will Gibbons. I'm a code enforcement prosecutor with the city. And
I'm Officer Robert Witter with Environmental Enforcement.
we're here today to talk about our research findings
Bring it a little
on
closer to you. There you
our
go.
research findings on the use of cameras in catching and curbing illegal dumping cases. And I'll start with, y'all may remember there was a story about a 20 and a 21-year-old who were caught illegally dumping, and they ended up apologizing for it to the environmental court and to the county commission. And it was a big headline around the community. And one interesting aspect of that story was the way in which they were caught was through cameras. And that's one thing that kind of got, I think, Inspector Witter and me interested in the idea of using that more. Some of the reasons that it happens, people feel like nobody is watching. When you feel like nobody is watching, you may be more prone to do the wrong thing. And it's a way of doing your work in a cheaper manner. It saves the fees incurred in the process of dumping. And it also saves time and effort. A vast majority of the cases, as I understand it from Mr. Witter, is that the illegal dumping cases occur in the daylight. And that suggests to us that the dumpers are people who have been hired to do a job. They're paid a fee to do that job, and the dumping fee is incorporated into that fee. But rather than do the right thing and use that fee to dump at a legal dumping site, they pocket the fee, dump it wherever, and they get off work early, and then they get to go home. So it's a way to curb the system. But cameras are one way to stop that, or at least catch it. Our research, we found examples going back to the late 90s, but as early as 2004, there was a California community that was kind of using them in more than just one or two in different places. There was a Florida study done by the legislature in 2006 on the use of them there and whether it should be made more of a common practice. And it became more of a common thing starting in the 2010s. And now we're at the point where most major cities use cameras to catch illegal dumpers in some capacity. In Tennessee, our legal history, in 2007, our legislature made it a crime to engage in illegal dumping. They made it a criminal offense to litter, and dumping would fall under that definition. And we talked about some of the definitions earlier. Anything less than 5 pounds or 7.5 cubic feet is punishable by a $500 fine or up to 40 hours community service, and or 8 hours that can be served at a recycling center. Criminal littering is defined as littering between 5 and 10 pounds, or less than 15 feet, less than 15 cubic feet, that's punishable by 80 hours of community service and or 8 hours at a recycling center. And then aggravated is 10 plus pounds or over 15 cubic feet. Or, and this is the most recent amendment, in 2022, they specifically named tires as part of aggravated criminal littering. So anything above 2 tires falls under that statute. And it's punishable, it could be punishable by prison if there's more than 100 pounds. But also another penalty can be between $2,500 and $4,000 in fines. And it can be a felony for repeat offenders or for violators who have more than 8 tires at the site. And when you compare that to the ordinance, we've had an ordinance on this since 1985, and that is punishable by a $50 fine that we discussed earlier. And there are some ways to make that fine higher because it can be multiplied by the offense or by the tire in some examples. But $50, that's not a huge fine. And it goes back to a Tennessee constitutional provision where if you can't have the jury trial, then then you can only have a $50 fine. But we do have some legal options for use when people like Mr. Witter find cases of illegal dumping, and I'll let him speak on the process.
So the use of our covert style camera system started back in early 2012 when the community enhancement merged with Public Works to make neighborhood improvement. And the thought process and direction it was going, it was a modified version of Steel Watch. When code enforcement individuals, public work individuals would go and actually set at active dump sites for hours on end to may or may not catch someone. So it was a trial and error. And then the ideas came about with covert style cameras, which were nothing more than deer trail cameras. They were inexpensive. They were there 24 hours a day, motion activated, take pictures all the time. And they were put out in the hot spots, identified areas in which multiple violations took place, multiple dumpings took place, and things of that nature. So right now, the city of Memphis has an estimated 100 trail cameras with about 40 different locations being monitored. It has been very successful. They're placed in, once again, the same model high dump spots, neighborhood areas where it's unmonitored or there's not a lot of traffic moving through them. I check them on about a weekly to bi-weekly basis, depending upon how much traffic goes through. And I apologize, I don't have any statistics as far as how many cases we currently have, but roughly 200 cases. I average about 5 a week when I pull them. And not all of them go to environmental court. I have started back since June and July trying to deal with the Memphis Police Department on the ones that are aggravated criminal littering. Individuals I catch on camera doing 7, 8 times, or tires, just the egregious amounts. The process for that is once I catch them, I'll go to the precinct in which the area or the location where the camera captured, file a police report, then the detective will call me. And then at that point, I pass my information in greater detail to him rather than just going to the desk at the precinct. And then where it goes from that point is at their discretion. being that sometimes it's a trash, it may not get pushed to the front of the desk. But I do get a police report number. I do periodically check on them. For some of them, they're still in investigative portions of things. But as far as that goes, there are in their hands. Oh, the other ones that don't go to Memphis Police Department, we do try them through environmental court. To the extent in which we can do as far as we can go with them. I have to determine what's worth Memphis Police Department's time and what's our ballpark, I guess, if you will. And we've been pretty successful in getting fines, $50, because if they're on camera, they're on camera. They can't deny it. So I guess the question is, does it work? And yes, it is very successful. My duties are split currently between monitoring 3 different areas, as well as doing camera assessments for different locations, installing cameras, maintenance, cards. So the full potential as the camera department hasn't been fully reached yet. As far as being able to focus on it. But so far it's been very successful.
We had some ideas from elsewhere around the country that we wanted to share. One was in Philadelphia. They revived their efforts in 2018 to use cameras in this effort. They went from 15 cameras to 100, and now they're at 250. And in the first year of doing that, they saw a 3.5% drop in the waste that they had to pick up. They prosecuted 31 illegal dumping cases. They got 10 guilty verdicts, 7 resolved out of court, and they got $8,000 in fines and 302 hours of community service. They also improved their cooperation between what they call the Environmental Crimes Unit and their code enforcement, and convinced the judges there not to throw these cases out or to take them lightly, but to really take them seriously and follow them all the way through. New Orleans, they are using their equivalent of the Real-Time Crime Center to monitor cases of illegal dumping, and they have cameras there that are motion detected, so once it identifies somebody, it can start taking still shots of what's going on. And then the individuals who are at their real crime time center can see it the same way they would see the other crimes that are caught at the real-time crime center. And I did not get much statistical evidence from New Orleans, but they gave an anecdotal story about this one individual who he had been in prison for dumping 14,000 tires. He got out of prison early. He went right back to doing the same thing, but they used these cameras to catch him again. The last 2 I just include to remind us to seek all the funding avenues that we can. In Pennsylvania, they have a camera grant where Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, they loan 3 cameras to different organizations that apply and show a commitment to using them to report dumping cases to law enforcement and code enforcement. And they can use these cameras 3 months at a time, and it's renewable. And it's a way of getting more agencies, more entities involved in the process. In Tennessee, we have something that is not as specific, but we have a money grant to police departments that is awarded to prevent litter. So that may be a possible avenue. We may be using that already, but if we're not, we need to look into that. And the second that I wanted to highlight was that the city of Camden, New Jersey, was able to get a $500,000 federal grant. So if there's something that we need to get Representative Cohen on, we can do that too through this task force. So our recommendations, we think this is something that's worth expanding, but it needs to come with the dedicated resources and personnel to, we phrase it as further develop, but what we really mean by that, if you expand the use of cameras, if you expand the number of cameras but don't have the people checking it, then you're not getting that far with those cameras. So we have to dedicate the personnel to it. We want to train the police on the use of cameras or retrain so that they can charge that aggravated criminal littering charge. We've already alluded to it today, but we want to use social media and local news outlets as tools in a way to put these people on blast and kind of embarrass them, honestly. And we want to determine the best way to use our local courts to ensure that all the interested parties are aligned on how to use the cameras. Because on the one hand, the criminal courts have the hammer more so than anybody else, but they also have murder cases on their docket and robberies and heinous crimes. So it may not have the same attention from those judges and from the DA's office. When you compare it to the environmental court, these kind of cases do have the environmental court's full attention, although it doesn't have the same hammer because of the $50 fine. So there's a balance that we have to find, and we have to get all the interested parties on the same page. And we mentioned city court just because there may be a way to involve them in all this, and then that keeps the whole fee collection and all that kind of in-house. Mr. Woodard, do you have anything to add?
The training the MPD on the use of the cameras. In most cases, when I have the detective call me, they're like, their question to me is, what is this? And so I've started saving all of the TCA code on a folder on my desktop. And when I submit them, because a lot of times my pictures, I'll have 30, 40 pictures of the individual dumping. I'll also include the TCA code for them. And a lot of times they are not aware of the criminal aspect and even the felony aspect of what I'm submitting to them. I've had one or two cases where it's, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were just doing part of your job, and didn't realize that the individual I submitted to him was 7 cases. He had dumped 7 times over the course of 2 days. So that's why we put in there for the training of the MPD. They have cameras of their own. I deal with Josh Stanley on a frequent basis, but the precincts and the detectives may not know that aspect of things.
We're happy to take any questions, but we appreciate the time.
Thank you. We appreciate that information. That was informative, and I would like for everybody to get that and kind of review it and ask questions.
Yes.
The training, MPD training, were you meaning in the training academy or just?
Just a brief, did you know, or, I don't know how their process, their morning briefings are, or, their roll call.
Yeah.
But
Just making sure that they're informed
Yeah, I
and abreast.
agree.
Okay. And I like the idea of getting everyone aligned. That's going to be critical in us moving forward with that. So thank you so much for that. Anybody have any questions of them?
Erica Taylor. So with the MPD, they just started their new, the Connect Memphis, where, citizens that have their own cameras can, have Memphis, they'll be able to tap in. So how will they, of course, that's kind of to, I guess, look at, the crime and, helping them do the crime. But will Memphis MPD alert our department, Environmental Public Works, when there's a legal dumper on, citizens' camera? Like, how will MPD know to route, it's a crime, but, how will they know to route it to our Department of Public Works to address that part of the Memphis Connect?
Education. And once again, letting them know that if someone sends in to them the video footage, that there is a department that's handling that. And we get, from time to time, we do get citizens footage, camera footage, cell phone footage, security cameras at Walmart or at different places. We've used local outlets, their security footage to help prosecute as well. So once again, letting them know that we're out there, this is what we do.
And I thought that was a part of this department too. I thought there was a collaboration under that. I'm going to ask Chief Ryan if she would speak to it as well.
So the purpose right now for Connect Memphis is to get cameras registered, and it's to help them with crime fighting. I think this is a part of that conversation, and more conversation should be had with how we could integrate the use of these type of, they're basically registering like Ring cameras, and some business communities, some of their cameras, if they want to register them, it's a little bit, it's more of that, the Ring cameras or the business cameras that are being registered to this. So the focus is like get the numbers up so that we're connected to these cameras, and as we need access, there is a request that's made, to that customer. We're not just, on everybody's camera or anything. So it's a connection, and then, I have information that something happened in this particular location. I know I've got 3 cameras registered right now, and we can go to those folks, those residents, and say, I want to see your camera for this particular time on this particular day for this particular incident that occurred. So that's how that program works. So we're working on getting the numbers up. We're up to 1,086, which is great. Registered cameras and 26 integrated cameras, meaning that we can directly look at those cameras with permission. So it's a great program, and there are ways we can have discussion about how this could work. That is on their radar. I know I've had a conversation with them about it, so it is on their radar. But so it's just very much in its infant stage. So this is the great time for us to be thinking about this.
Right, and a great time for us to integrate this into this program. So I think that's a good ask. Go ahead, huh?
Yeah, so I also want to add, historically, we had tried the blue lights to legal dumping. That was not advantageous because they were getting vandalized. So that's why we went to the covert cameras. That's also the point of reference, how far people would go to avoid getting caught. We had people steal our cameras. Unfortunately, the news may publicize. We had people publicize, and they go out and they steal them or take do everything they can to make sure that they're not getting caught. I also want to say that we have had partnership meetings with MPD. We haven't had a meeting with their command staff in a while, so we could reach out to Chief Davis and have
Ask for
Officer
that,
Witter
yes.
and Mr. Gibbons, myself, and Ms. Neal go and talk to them and talk about what we're doing and get their input. They've been great partners. Obviously, I think we need to have some education and engagement with them along this lines. Especially with, we've talked, Mr. Witter's really reached out to the Real-Time Crime Center. We've shared data because they've used our data in prosecution of crimes because we've caught stuff that they are obviously interested in as well. I think we just need to pursue that more. And then the flock safety cameras are becoming more common. We'd like to maybe potentially see how that might work out. So I think Mr. Witter's actually, we're talking to we go to the manufacturer of these devices and say, hey, this is what we're doing. What can you do for us? These things help all cities because everybody's trying to leverage the same technology. So we are trying to even be innovative with how we can help make ourselves better with these cameras that don't require as much human interaction. I mean, we need more people, obviously, when we're talking about that. But how can these cameras and the technology behind these cameras serve us better too?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great start. So I think you all having a go ahead and schedule a meeting and time to talk to Chief Davis and get that going, get that solidified. I think that'd be great. And I know with the rollout of all these cameras, 5G and all of this stuff, we should have quite a bit of information. So I like your point about aligning all of that. And so hopefully you all can continue with the research and the discussions and the recommendations, and we can, pull all of that together. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I've asked Ms. Neal if she would present in January because I don't want to rush. We want to definitely take a deeper dive into her area because I think communication this part is very vital. And plus, as she stated, we'll have opportunity to add some data at that time. So we will come back with that. Any other discussions that need to happen? Ms. Crichton is going to forward you all just to make certain that you have the areas that you all have committed to and an update on where we are and just the minutes from today. Thank you so much. You all have a happy holiday. And if there's no other business before this committee is adjourned. Thank you.